At my wedding, my mother smiled and announced that the apartment Lena's parents had given us would now belong to my sister. What happened next changed my family forever. Lena and I had been together for 3 years before we got married. I worked in logistics coordination while she had spent years building her own accounting practice from the ground up. She was one of the calmest and most thoughtful people I had ever met. She never spoke without thinking first. Every decision she made was deliberate, and she never reacted out of emotion. Looking back now, I realized that what happened at our wedding wasn't a sudden outburst from her. It was the moment she finally decided she had seen enough. To understand why, you need to know about the apartment. Almost 2 years before our wedding, Lena's parents surprised us with the greatest gift anyone had ever given me. They owned several investment properties, and after our engagement, they transferred one of them, a beautiful apartment, into both of our names. It wasn't a promise, it wasn't something we'd inherit later. It legally belonged to us. When we signed the paperwork, both our names were placed on the deed. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. Naturally, I told my family. At the time, I thought I was simply sharing good news with the people who were supposed to be happy for me. I had no idea they were quietly treating that apartment as something they would eventually claim for themselves. Unfortunately, this wasn't unusual. Growing up, my family had always viewed anything stable in my life as something they were entitled to. Whenever I received a raise at work, someone suddenly needed financial help. Whenever I managed to save money, someone expected me to contribute toward their problems. Every period of stability in my life somehow became an opportunity for someone else to benefit. For years, I tolerated it because they were my family. I convinced myself that keeping the peace was easier than fighting over every unreasonable request. Lena noticed everything. She rarely commented on it, though. She understood that they were my family, and she respected the boundaries of our relationship. She never wanted to create conflict before we were married. But I also knew she had limits. I just didn't know where those limits were. Our wedding day was beautiful. The ceremony went perfectly. We were finally husband and wife. By the time everyone gathered in the reception hall, the atmosphere was warm and relaxed. Guests were laughing, taking photos, and waiting for dinner to be served. I honestly believe the difficult part of the day was over. I couldn't have been more wrong. Before the first course even reached the tables, my mother suddenly stood up with a wine glass in her hand. Everyone assumed she was about to give a heartfelt toast. She wore that familiar smile I'd seen my entire life. The smile she always wore whenever she'd already made a decision for everyone else. She tapped her glass gently. The room slowly became quiet. Then she looked directly at Lena and me. "We've been talking as a family," she announced proudly, "and we've come to a decision." I exchanged a confused glance with Lena. Nobody had discussed anything with us. My mother continued as if she were sharing wonderful news. "The apartment Lena's parents gave you is far too much space for a young couple. Olivia has 4 children and needs it much more than you do." Several guests stopped eating. She smiled even wider. "So we've decided the apartment should be transferred to your sister. It's the right thing to do." The room fell completely silent. For a second, I honestly thought I'd misunderstood what she'd said. Then I saw my sister Olivia casually raise her glass from across the table. She laughed. "Oh, relax," she said. "It's just a place to sleep. You'll understand." Before I could even process that, my father leaned forward. "It's already been decided," he said firmly. "Your sister has 4 kids." He looked straight at me. "You're an adult now. It's time you started acting